Mahler's Third Symphony is definitely his longest symphony, and also probably one of the longest, if not the longest, symphony in the standard repertoire. There is something really, I feel, that tries to cover everything in this symphony. Everything in musical sense and everything in human experience, human life sense. I remember when I heard it for the first time, it was in a CD shop. I didn't know so well, actually. I knew of Mahler's symphonies, of course, but I never heard this symphony before. And I remember I went into the shop to look probably for some piano CDs, because I still didn't didn't think about conducting at the time. And then I heard this, which comes very often in the first movement. And I don't know why, but just hearing these four notes, first of all, I knew that's Mahler. Definitely. I don't know how, but there was something about it that was clear. And I just kept listening. I just stood in the store until the owner asked me, "So can I help you with anything?" I asked, "Is this Mahler?" He said, "Yes, it's the Third Symphony." I said, "Can I buy it?" "Of course." And this was, I used to listen to this CD performed by London Philharmonic and Klaus Tenstedt, maybe every day for a few weeks. That was a real discovery. He called the first movement Pan Awakens and Pan Enters, Summer Marches In, something that sounds maybe like the creation of the world, or really something very primitive, without human beings, without nature, just something bigger than life, giving a start to everything. And this is how the symphony starts, with 8 horns, really announcing the beginning of time, maybe. And then everything sort of sinks down and something new starts. Sort of an impression that something new and a new atmosphere is about to enter. And indeed, he calls this part of the movement Summer Marches In. And you remember the way the symphony started. Now it transforms into this very light and cheerful march. Mahler is, of course, always in his life obsessed with marches, with military marches, but it's not always just a military march per se. Sometimes it has this very light, beautiful lightness in it, and this is one of these cases. One instance in the symphony, in the third movement, the movement that is supposed to speak about the animals, what the animals are telling me. All of a sudden, in the middle of the movement, the music becomes very quiet, almost unheard anymore, and from a very, very far distance, you hear a horn called a post horn. At the time, in the beginning of the 20th century as well, but 19th century, 18th century, and going back, that was always the call, knowing that the mail is coming to town. Now we're used to emails, of course, and WhatsApp, but just the idea that you know that news are coming, or somebody you love, somebody you know wrote you something, or you're expecting something. It doesn't really explain why this appears all of a sudden in the middle of the movement, but it's very clear that it creates a completely different atmosphere. From the way we start, it's sort of a scherzando. To something like that. And this really is sustained, this atmosphere, for a very long time, for a few minutes in the middle of the movement. It means something very significant to Mahler. The last movement, what love tells me, or what God tells me. In different letters, he's calling this movement in different ways. And again, coming back to the beginning of the symphony, that's the way we started. The way he speaks about love and how love speaks to me in the last movement is also a transformation of this. This is, to me, one of the most beautiful slow movements any composer has ever written. It's a long movement, it's about half an hour, and it starts from this wonderful tranquility that you just heard and builds up to something that just surrounds you from every corner of the stage and just elevates you completely as a human being. And it's truly, he really catched the sense of love, of God, of whatever it is that really was in his mind at the time and is eternal.